Good afternoon, everybody. Today I am starting my candy making for Christmas. Today I am going to do gumdrop candy, call it gumdrop nougat, gumdrop chewies, whichever way you want to call it. You're going to need a box of the gumdrops. I cut mine into eighths. I like mine kind of small, but you could cut them in halves or fourths, whatever way you want to do it. You're going to need 2 teaspoons of butter. You're going to need a bag of the 10 ounce of mini marshmallows. You're going to need a tablespoon of vanilla, and I always put about a half a tablespoon of almond. I just think that kind of adds to everything. And you're going to need 2 cups of the white chocolate or white baking morsels. This is also a 10 ounce bag. So that's 2 cups. You're going to need a double boiler, and you're going to need a pan with parchment paper. I'm using an 8x8. You can use a little bit bigger. If you use bigger, of course, it's going to be thinner. I like kind of like the thicker nougat. I don't know why I've gotten to this where I like the chews. I buy Starburst every day. Not sure. But anyway, I'm going to get started. First thing you're going to do is you're going to put move all this fun stuff out of the way. In the double boiler, you're going to add your chocolates. You're going to add your butter. And you're going to add your marshmallows. And you're going to get this going. And you're going to need to constantly stir this, of course. Because it is, you don't want it to get stuck. Okay, sorry about that. I needed to turn my pot on. So a double boiler is just where you put just a little bit water in the bottom of a pan, and you put your bowl on top of it, and you do that so that it doesn't burn on the bottom, especially with something sticky like caramels or nougat. When you're making stuff like this, you want to use a double boiler, and it is literally just a pot with some water in the bottom and a pan on the top. So I'm gonna get this stirred up and keep it stirred, and I'll show you what it looks like when it gets to the nougat stage. Okay, when y'all got it about here, I know I said a tablespoon. I'm in a teaspoon of vanilla. You don't want to add too much liquid to it. Okay, sorry. I had to open it. It's a new one. It's Christmas. I'm going to go through this big one. So that teaspoon, I usually do just a capful. And then on the almond, again, I just like to add almond. I just like to add a little almond. So maybe about 5 or 6 drops. So then you go ahead and get this finished up stirring. As you can see, it's starting to get all melted. If you've ever made Rice Krispie treats, then you know the consistency you have to get the marshmallows to. So let me finish getting this all stirred up. And then once it gets to the nougat stage, a little bit softer than this, we'll add in the gumdrops. Okay, so once your nougat gets like this, then you're going to go ahead and add in. And you're going to take this off the double boiler because you don't want this to melt any more than it already is. So we're going to add in and like I said, I cut mine up really small. You don't have to cut them into eighths like this. You can put them in the whole if you like, I just like having, like, for each bite of the nougat or gumdrop chewies. I call them gumdrop chewies, but then I want a bite of fruit. So let me get this nice and stirred in, and we'll get it in our pan. Okay, you got to work with this pretty quickly because it literally starts to harden as soon as you take it off of the double boiler. So I went ahead and poured it up. Now what I did was I put a little butter on my spatula here so I could kind of get it really spread out without it completely sticking to everything. So just get this flattened out as much as you can. And again, you could put it in a bigger pan, a 10 by 10, 9 by 9. I just like my nougat a little bit thicker. So I'm going to get this finished, getting this all spread out, get it even. We're going to put this in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. And then I'm going to get it out, and I'm going to cut it into squares, and I'll show you what I do from there. Okay, so it's been in the refrigerator probably an hour and a half. So, you could leave it in there long enough that you could pull it away from the paper like that. And you're going to want to cut this, and you could cut this into any size you like. I'm going to try this little piece of cutter and see if that helps cut it easier. You can use what you want. So let me see how this is going to work, if this will work good. No, not really. That's not going to work too good. So get you a knife. And just, it's going to be kind of a little hard to cut. I'm just going to cut a few little pieces here. Now, okay. Now, that's how they look. And what I do is I cut some little pieces of the parchment paper and I roll it up. There you go. And then that way you can put them out for your friends or your guests and they can have them a little treat, and it's individually wrapped. You can keep them in the refrigerator if you want. You don't have to. You know, once it hardens, it's usually pretty good. You can see, I'm going to give this a taste. If you like nougat and you like the gumdrops, not my gumdrop buttons, couldn't resist. This is really, really good. It's not super sweet. You would think it would be, but it's nice and chewy. I love the texture. Like I said, I've gotten addicted to eating like strawberries. I mean, Starburst and now laters, or now and laters. I grew up calling them now laters. Did anybody else call them now laters or just me? I didn't realize until I started buying them again that it's now and laters, which makes a lot more sense than now laters. But anyway, I'm in the South. We kind of shorten everything. But anyway, this is how you make gumdrop nougats, gumdrop chewies, whatever you want to call them. Individually wrap them in some parchment paper. Super simple. Give them out as gifts. Put them out for the kids. Really delicious. Not really super sweet. Great texture. Y'all have any questions, let me know. If not, enjoy.